What's up, guys? It's time to get into it. This is every major discovery and every single thing you need to know about the mighty Spinosaurus. In 1913, Ernst Stromey, a major paleontologist, decided to go all the way to North Africa for his studies. However, in 1915, when he was already packing off, ready to leave, World War I began, therefore keeping him there. By that point, he had found fossils of two major predators, Carcharodontosaurus and Spinosaurus aegypticus. He also found fossils from herbivores like the large and infamous Aegyptosaurus. The first reconstructions of Spinosaurus were made around 1916 time, where the first imaging formats were finally created of the beast. Its head looked very similar to the 1915's T-Rex, 1910's T-Rex. Maybe the head of a Carcharodontosaurus got mixed up with some head parts of the Spinosaurus. But later on, in 1917, it was found that Spinosaurus had a lot more of a crocodilian snout than usually thought. But before any discoveries could be made, in 1917, the entire museum Spinosaurus, the first Spino fossil was put in, was bombed by Nazi Germany. Instead of being taken out like all the other products in the facility were, the Spino and all Stromey's big discoveries were left to become ashes to ashes, dust to dust, only because Stromey did not support the Nazi regime. Now, everything up until 1950, Spinosaurus will be left as a big mystery fossil, with only fossilized formats for Carcharodontosaurus and Spinosaurus and Aegyptosaurus existing. This was what seemed to be the sad fate of what used to be a very large, carnivorous, meat-eating, spine-backed, sail-back, meat-eating Spinosaurus. Well, not all would be over for Spinosaurus so early in 1917, only 2 years after it had been discovered. Oh no, there's a lot more to this story than just that. This was by far the most important part of the story though. If we look at the diagrams of Spinosaurus, we could find that only fragments of the spine, arms, ribs, and face were discovered. So not a lot of the Spinosaurus was found. The beginnings, now it's time to get scientific. So put your scientist caps on and get your noggins working, because we need to discuss something. If a dinosaur is discovered, the first specimen ever discovered will be called a holotype, and the newer version will be called a neotype. However, more discoveries will be made in the year 1950. In 1950, the new version of Spinosaurus would be found, and the second chapter in our story would finally begin. Only small fragments would be found in Brazil and only in Brazil and a few other smaller places. But these fragments were only small, and these fragments caused the Spinosaurus to yet again be supposedly rediscovered only in small fragments than its older version, and this holotype would now become just a regular new group of specimens that were only known from fragments. Who knows, they might be Sigilmassasaurus or Oxalia, supposed cousins to the massive, bony Spinosaurus. New discoveries are being made every single year in the 1950s. Because in this decade, this will be one of the worst decades to learn about the sailed back Spinosaurus. But don't worry, things are going to get a lot more better. It's been currently 35 years since the bomb exploded and ended up destroying the original Spinosaurus aegypticus specimen. So yeah, that was the beginning of the Spinosaurus. Chapter 2 was only a short chapter in its history, and it wasn't very important at all. But towards the end of the 1950s, yes, 1959, a very unpopular year, was actually a popular year for the Spinosaurus aegypticus. It started becoming a lot more popular in media all around the world, who depicted it fighting the other fallen cousin of it, the Carcharodontosaurus saharicus, and even fighting the mighty sauropods who would usually come out on top in all these posters. It even started appearing in famous children's books of the 1950s about dinosaurs. Now, the third chapter is a lot more interesting than the second. This is season 3 of Spinosaurus Discoveries. It became a lot more popular, and for some reason, in some depictions, people depicted it as a now quadrupedal creature, which is more accurate to the 2014 version, which we're going to see in maybe chapter 5 or chapter 6. 3 to 2 chapters later. I don't really know. Anyway, yeah, probably 2 chapters. Anyway, for now it would look really, really weird, just like the 1950s version and the 1915s and the 1910s version as well. These versions of Spinosaurus were too inaccurate, and towards the end of the 70s, in 1979, people realised how outlandish this would have looked for an animal. So new discoveries started to be made about Spinosaurus. But just as these new discoveries were going to be made in the early 80s, up until 1984, people stopped talking about Spinosaurus all of a sudden. It only appeared in a lot less children's book, which means it was getting really, really unpopular now. It had 3 popular decades and then just went in a deadline for around 10 more years until the 90s, where it would start to get popular once again. So yeah, anyway, very little discoveries were made on Spinosaurus in the 80s and 70s. In fact, up until barely any fractured specimens were found, severely injured and mutilated by sauropods. Now we've entered one of the big ones. In 1993, Spinosaurus started to appear in a lot more children's books now. And although a lot more fractions were being found, it seemed like Spinosaurus was getting out of its deadline ready for round 3. And in chapter 4 of this amazing story of Spinosaurus aegypticus history, it would be found people would find out about these new supposedly dead genuses now in 2020s, Sigilmastosaurus and Oxalia. This is why we chose the poster for 1993. And with the film of Jurassic Park bringing a lot more popularity to dinosaurs in this year, alongside the new discovery of Giganotosaurus, this would definitely revive Spinosaurus once and for all. This story is getting insane. Spinosaurus is starting to look a lot less weird than it did in the 80s, 70s, 10s and 50s. But that's a good thing. It's more morphologically similar to our modern day rendition of the Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. Anyway, this creature was just shown off as amazing, but it was given a more megalosaur snout for absolutely no reason, and it was made around the size of Deinonychus, which right now was a mid-sized raptor. That is really small. They even thought Suchomimus, a smaller relative of Spinosaurus, was stronger than it. We enter the 5th chapter, 2001. One of the more realistic renditions of the mighty Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. This massive bipedal beast, which has longer legs than it was depicted in today, ended up being portrayed terribly. Its new appearance was caused by the new Jurassic Park movie, Jurassic Park 3. In this, a paleontologist who hated Tyrannosaurus Rex, known as Jack Corney, wanted to rub in the fact that he hated T-Rex so much in the face of his colleagues and the entire world that he made his own interpretation of Spinosaurus aegyptiacus as Spinosaurus ingenus, which was the new scientific name of Spinosaurus, to kill off the T-Rex in not 1, not 2, but 30 to 45 seconds in Jurassic Park 3. And he was portrayed with super health, super strength, durability, resistance, endurance, all these factors hacked up to the superness. It was the strongest creature on Earth in the 2000s. Spinosaurus was known as T-Rex killer and Giganotosaurus killer as well. So yeah, that wasn't a good era for Spinosaurus. But you see, in 2011 it all went bad for Spinosaurus, because just 10 years later its posture went all wrong, because in 2011's documentary Planet Dinosaur, it was portrayed with a longer, more gharial-like snout, and along with more children's shows portraying the T-Rex and Giganotosaurus as definitely more powerful predators than it. It started to bite down to become one of the more weaker dinosaurs. In the public's eye, it was still a powerful T-Rex killing machine, but in the scientist's eye, it was all different. Instead, it was weaker. Instead, it was also found that the creature ate fish. More fragments were found in 2000s and 2010s. However, a lot more research was found in the Chem beds that suggests that it had more of a fish-like diet, and instead, Paul Sereno, a new paleontologist who threw his hat into the ring of Spinosaurus aegyptiacus, decided that there was something else. He decided that the thing ate fish. This would be a massive improvement. Instead of full-on carnivore, it became full-on piscivore, or fish eater for short, not a meat eater. That made it weaker, and therefore it became weaker than T-Rex just 10 years as people started to say it was stronger than T-Rex and Giganotosaurus. These two other dinosaurs became a lot more powerful and robust than the Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. But it was still powerful in its own right in this time, being shown to be capable of fighting other carnivores like Carcharodontosaurus saharicus, who's been brought yet again back into the story of Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. Who knows what's next? But in 2014, just 3 years later, all would change terribly for the Spinosaurus. It became even worse. This creature in 2014 finally had a more complete full skeleton known as Spinosaurus neotype discovered. And a man named Nizar Ibrahim, who came from German-Moroccan descent, ended up travelling to Morocco and naming another species of Spinosaurus, Spinosaurus moroccanus. Basically the same thing, but instead of living in Egypt, it lived in Morocco, or the Kem beds. This beast would still be ferocious in its own right, but with a longer waist, and it walked on 4 legs like a gorilla. But there were going to be more improvements. It also had a new crest on his head, which it only people in public saw in 2011. Now the YouTube community was getting involved a lot more, saying how much they hated the new Spinosaurus and making memes about how it changed every 10 seconds. But that would become even more rapid only 4 years later in 2018. Anyway, in this year, not much changed, but slowly it went from its more gorilla-like posture to less of a gorilla-like posture and more like an amphibian, like a frog or something like that instead. Finally, a new era of the Spinosaurus, 2018. Let's see how weird this thing doesn't get instead. Alright, this is a better year for Spinosaurus. It became less like a gorilla and instead walked on 2 short hind legs. And instead it also started growing a bit in size. Well, it used to be 14 metres long or 13.8 metres long. Now it grew from and it was 18 metres long. Now it was 15 metres long. Not a lot changed in this year though. Our 2021 was a new, better year for this thing. In 2021, they managed to find a more amphibian-like tail, a bit like a salamander. So giving this thing a salamander's tail and more stiff, weaker arms, this creature also started living more in water in 2018, and it came from semi-aquatic to almost fully aquatic. This would change once again in 2 years. But for now, this was ugly. This is how we saw Spinosaurus. And it was also saw that it was weaker than Carcharodontosaurus saharicus, which might be untrue, might be true. No one really knows in the fight between Carchar and Spino. It was already proven years ago that it was weaker than T-Rex, and Giganotosaurus would now beat it. And finally we come to now, the year of 2023, the final year so far Spinosaurus. We will update it if something changed, but around 2 months ago, Paul Sereno returned to put his hand back in the ring ever since 2011 and 2018. This time he'd say that this creature spent most of its life surprisingly online. Its sales structure had also been changed a lot more, and some of its morphological features, like even its face, were changed and tinted a bit to be a lot more narrower and less long, more sharper teeth. But barely anything changed other than that semi-aquatic thing going down the rubbish bin. Instead, they say now that it was a shoreline ambush predator that would see Onchopristus, its new most common prey, swim through the water in breeding seasons, and then it would grab one in its long snout. Its arms and neck would become a lot less stiff as well, and instead they could use them a lot more. Spinosaurus was an interesting animal after all this time, and humanity knows that. It's just too shy to show that. Spinosaurus, at the end of the day, is just an amalgamation. I don't think this is what Spinosaurus would look like at all, one bit. But for now, if that's what science thinks, then I'm going on the bandwagon. until this thing changes again to look like bloody Spinosaurus vulgaris or something. For now, oh yeah, and Spinosaurus moroccanus, oxalaia, and Sigilmassasaurus might be unvalid genuses or nobendumians. They might all just be Spinosaurus. Nobody knows. That's just a theory I came up with. Hopefully you enjoyed. Bye. See ya. What's up, guys? We return to the terrible tale of Spinosaurus with new 2023 studies suggesting about the fight between Spinosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus saharicus. Who is going to win this horrible fight? Right, first of all, these creatures will probably never fight. They've only fought once in the fossil record, and that was only for a short amount of time. And it was a ferocious battle, but only for short and snappy. Anyway, the fight wouldn't happen because the two ate different things in a land filled with different breeds of carnivores like Rugops and Deltadromeus. They needed to eat different things in order not to compete over fish or dead dinosaur meat, or even living dinosaur meat, Carcharodontosaurus, or even Spinosaurus hunted. They might have even killed Rugops or Deltadromeus in order to finish them off after a hunt. Anyway, it's time to discuss Spinosaurus's advantages. It had height and intimidation. It was taller and could easily intimidate Carcharodontosaurus. It was longer. It was maybe better at swimming. A new study suggests that it only swam when it needed to, by Paul Sereno like a stork. But yes, this thing was a terrible swimmer. Obviously, for now in 2023 studies, it also suggests that it might have had better claws, but a new study by Nizar Ibrahim suggests that it might have less mobile claws than we thought in 2011 and 2018. It also had a strong fin-like tail it could use to tail whack Carcharodontosaurus with. It could also hiss, and yes, modern day scientists, including a channel known as Dangerville, believed that this thing could hiss in order to intimidate enemies. Now looking at the disadvantages of Spinosaurus, it had a weaker bite force by a lot. It wasn't as heavy. It was less mobile because it didn't have as an evolved waist. It was less mobile, we know why. It had a vulnerable sail, neck, and chest, which is 3 disadvantages in one. And it was also a lot less experienced. It used to be thought that it was experienced in battle and just regular experience, but now Carchar wins that. Now we're looking at the advantages of Carcharodontosaurus. It had a clear weight advantage in 2022. The modern estimates of Spinosaurus put it at 12,000 kilograms. Modern estimates for Carcharodontosaurus, which were last made in 2020 times, was about 15,000 kilograms, which gives it a clear weight advantage against Spinosaurus. But again, this might be wrong. The new studies suggest that it has a really strong bite, comparable to Giganotosaurus, which we already know is stronger than Spinosaurus. Anyway, that means it has a stronger bite than Spinosaurus. It had a lot more experience in combat, as fossils suggest that it fought massive sauropods like Egyptosaurus and Wabachiosaurus. It was more mobile, it could move faster, it could, jump the Spinosaurus, and it had a lot more strategy and ambush that was equal to that of the Spinosaurus. They both hunted in different areas anyway, one at the shoreline, another on land. It was also a lot more faster when running on land, but it wasn't as fast, but it was equally as fast underwater with Spinosaurus. We see these two equal Egyptian carnivores. Who will win this fight? Now it's time to look at the disadvantages of Carcharodontosaurus. But let's discuss first why they would even fight in the first place. At the end of their time, when Spinosaurus was going extinct, a massive drought happened, which means Spinosaurus couldn't eat fish because almost all the fish in Egypt were dead. So it had to eat and scavenge land prey like dead Caprasuchus and even dead sauropods who had walked too far from the herd. However, these meals might have belonged to Carcharodontosaurus, which would lead to a mighty fight, as seen in the fossil record with a subadult Spinosaurus and a Carcharodontosaurus. This Spinosaurus survived, however, until it reached old age, where it finally died. And its sail could grow back as well. Anyway, the disadvantages of Carcharodontosaurus. It was dummy, as in not intelligent like Spinosaurus. It wasn't as intelligent. It could easily be intimidated by the Spinosaurus, and it didn't have it wasn't as long or even as tall as the mighty Spinosaurus. It also had weaker eyesight, maybe. You see, Spinosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus both had really weak eyesight compared to something like Giganotosaurus or Tyrannosaurus rex. Now, if we look at it compared to Tyrannosaurus rex, dinosaur with the best eyesight, that was T-Rex and Troodon, which could be a dubious genus. They are nowhere near as good, so that's equal. Now, who wins this fight? Compiling all the data, we can make a scenario with Carcharodontosaurus could bite down on the Spinosaurus's weakest points, like its sail, neck, or chest, or flip it over even and break some of its vertebrae, which wouldn't inherently destroy Spinosaurus, just hurt it a bit. Anyway, it could use this factor to finish it off when it wasn't mobile enough to fight. Therefore, I suggest Carcharodontosaurus might have won 90% of the time, or even 89% of the time. 85% goes to Carcharodontosaurus. That means it's put at mid-low difficulty, which means it would struggle half the time, and then a little less. So it would struggle a little less of the time. Carcharodontosaurus wins for now. Hopefully you enjoyed. Bye, see ya. What's up, guys? Without a doubt, let's get into it. Today we're looking at the new Megalosaurus footprint. That's the largest in Yorkshire, surprisingly. That's right, it's the largest dinosaur footprint in Yorkshire. How surprising that is that? But first, let's go over what this dinosaur is, or what it could be. It could either be a Spinosaurid, a Neovenator, an entirely new theropod dinosaur, or a Megalosaurus. It's most likely Megalosaurus. What it supposedly did was crouch down on its hind legs and just rest before getting up and walking away. What a magnificent sight of a carnivore not hunting anything at all, just sitting down having a rest, either eating food or just trying to get a rest. Maybe in pursuit of prey, or maybe just lying down. Anyway, the size of Megalosaurus was about 2 tons in weight, 8 meters long and 3 meters tall. So it's nice to know that even mid-sized giant theropods like this could just rest. Hopefully you enjoy, guys. Bye, see ya. What's up, guys? Today we're gonna make another Jurassic Park video. And this is not gonna just be a Jurassic Park video. This is probably gonna be the biggest video of this year of 2023. This is about all the discoveries that are happening in real world and Jurassic Park. So first, let's start off with the route Jurassic Park's going in. What's happening with JP30? This is everything we know about Jurassic Park 30. If you don't know what Jurassic Park 30 is, it's the 30th anniversary of Jurassic Park, where they're selling all new toys because of it, and they're going to everyone's flocking to America right now in June to go to the event known as JP30. There's been loads of toy reveals because of JP30. So here's everything we know. It starts off with the real feel massive giant Triceratops. That's extra large. Then we come up with the real feel Tyrannosaurus Rex with rubby stomach and rubby neck. The rest is hard plastic. And then we get a few other toys that can be seen in the upcoming images after the Tyrannosaurus Rex image. Which, yeah, this is one of the best ones we've had in Mattel. As you can see, honestly, this just looks great. Ian Malcolm, Alan Grant, and Scootosaurus, and a few other cars and mercenaries, vehicles, and 2 baby dinosaurs are all going to be in different sets, obviously, sold separately, but still, this is our first coolest thing to see. Now, next up we don't have the discovery, but instead we have the movement of a massive fossil. Now, this dinosaur is called Dippy, the Diplodocus, or Dippy the dinosaur. That's currently been in a natural history museum for around over 100 years. So that's good to know. And it's currently sadly and unfortunately being moved to a new museum in Britain. Now, isn't that sad? Now, it is coming to somewhere in Yorkshire, I believe. That's what I heard. So it's somewhere in Yorkshire it's been moved. But this might be unreliable, so don't really listen. Take this with a grain of salt. Either listen, go away, or you could just search up where they put it. I don't know myself. But all I know is that they put it in a massive new futuristic looking museum that looks like it's a product of the future with pieces of the past. That's how they called it in 2018. Isn't this just wonderful? How the old is finally getting renewed. But at the same time, it's sad because change will happen. Now, next up, we have 2 really short ones. Right? When I say short, I mean short. But take this with a massive grain of salt. Apparently, there's going to be a Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous 2. Not season 2, but 2. Now, search this up. You might find some videos, so take this for granted. What you should also take with a grain of salt is the new dinosaur documentary that may be coming out called Surviving Earth, that approximately covers around 8 extinction periods. And a bit of a news, apparently there's screenshots on JWCC2, Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous 2. But anyway, this one has a good enough plot, and we know there's going to be the Permian extinction, Great Dying, and blah 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 mama. Now, many of us have heard of the film, the upcoming film with Adam Driver in it, that's called 65. Now, in a bit, I will reveal the release date, and it doesn't say what time of month, but it does say what month this movie is being released in. That's right, it's March. Next month, this movie is approximately being released. And you know what else is being released in March as well? Alright, I'm just kidding about that one, but it might be in March. Life on Our Planet, a history and dinosaur documentary with 2 T-Rexes locked in combat revealed. Anyway, no news on that now, but I just like to bring it up because it's cool. Here's a short little pic of it, by the way, compared to others. Next up, we have one of the more massive topics of our video. This is primate level intelligence in megatheropods like T-Rex and Giganotosaurus and theropods like Daspletosaurus wilsoni confirmed. Oh yeah, by the way, a new dinosaur was discovered last year called Daspletosaurus wilsoni, so that's good. Anyway, apparently EQ, which was an old form of calculating IQ, which we all used like a year ago, has now been cancelled this year, which is a massive revelation in dinosaur history, and instead replaced by a new, a lot more complicated way of calculating animal intelligence. Apparently they scan into its brain after chopping your head in half and then piecing it back together again. I don't know how to do it. But all I know is that T-Rex is apparently smarter, believe it or not, than our modern baboon, who are apparently in the Stone Age right now, if you didn't know. So that is a massive advancement in dinosaur intelligence. Funny to think in the 70s, only so long ago, we thought that these dinosaurs have little to no intelligence, but now they can use stone tools. Now, intelligence might have been used in trapping triceratops and then using trees to beat them to death. Yeah, as you can tell, it's a pretty violent way of dominating over other creatures by just bullying them to death. That's bad. And next up, could dinosaurs sing like birds do? Well, no, but yes. Believe it or not, a specific type of ankylosaurid, Pinacosaurus, which is around mid-sized creature, around 4 to 2 meters longer at its longest, can make beautiful singing sounds like a beautiful bird, specifically like a robin or a crow, but much deeper, obviously, because it's a different type archosaur. Anyway, if we look at this picture and we analyse the mouth, these pieces in the mouth, due to that could cause the animal to have such a beautiful but deep singing voice. Like that rapper who has a light voice and then it turns deep as soon as the career gets to the good parts. That's what it sounded like. Next up, we have 3 mid-sized spinosaurids, Ceratoseucops, Ripperovinator, and Baryonyx walkeri. Let's explain what's happened here between the 3. There's been a new brain study for spinosaurids to see that these Megalosaurus descendants and if their brain structures were different or not. Well, as they cut open the head to see what it was, there was a massive surprise. Absolutely nothing. But the brain was a lot more hollow, which was a cool feature, because almost all dinosaurs did not have hollow brains. But other than that, their cognitive levels were really equal. For some reason, I expected them to be really low when they announced that the study was taking place. But at the same time, again and again, you can never be sure. Oh yeah, fun fact, Ripperovinator and Ceratoseucops were discovered last year in 2022. So that's cool. Sadly, nothing was found out about Ripperovinator in this study, like always. That should be a characteristic. No one cares about Ripperovinator. Everyone cares about Baryonyx and Ceratoseucops. More Baryonyx. Like Baryonyx is the youngest sibling, Ripperovinator or child. And finally, but not least, Ceratoseucops is the oldest child. Finally, but not least, I also wanted to say that Stephen Fry's dinosaur is apparently bad, even though I haven't seen it. Oh yeah, one last fact before we get into the big stuff. Did you know dinosaurs had belly buttons? And recently, another YouTube channel, which I forgot the name of, but I will still credit even though I don't know who he is, who made the Lost World episode 15, I think, Hatteg Island. Yeah, he made a video distinguishing the biggest bird of all time. It has been a meme that in 2023 and 2022, that the biggest bird, about the biggest bird, oh, I'm the biggest bird, you're the biggest bird, whatever. Anyway, apparently the biggest bird was called Apeornis titan, or the elephant bird for short. Oh yeah, new studies in 2022 and early 2023 suggest that T-Rex actually breathed through its ribs, surprisingly. I'm getting kind of bored of seeing all these things now. Not really cool facts there. Anyway, moving on to the next big thing. And finally, but not least, end this thing off with a bang. There's been a continuation from a theory from the 11th of September 2009, saying that Velociraptor and dromaeosaurs lived in trees. Apparently that's true for now. Now hopefully you enjoyed my video. Without that, let's get into it. Bye, see ya. Anyway, it's nice to know how many discoveries we might have left later on this year. I mean, I had a video about a new footprint being found in Yorkshire, so who knows what's next out there. Also, guys, now I've just watched Mega Dinosaur's video of 9 dinosaurs that could kill T-Rex, and I wasn't very happy. They said Tarbosaurus and Saurophagonats, which were smaller and weaker than T-Rex, could kill T-Rex. So today I made my own list of prehistoric creatures that could kill T-Rex. Without a doubt, let's get into it. Number 9, Argentinosaurus. The Argentinosaurus is a large, mighty creature and the largest dino of all time. Argentinosaurus was a massive herbivore who had a long tail and a long feet to defend itself from predators like the mighty Maposaurus and Scorpiovenator, alongside beasts like Trichosaurus as well. Which, although T-Rex could beat all those beasts easily, Argentinosaurus is just too large for T-Rex to beat. Weighing approximately 90 to 95 tons, but lower estimates bring it 70 to 75 tons. Even better, to 80 tons. Number 8, Alamosaurus. This massive beast may have actually lived alongside T-Rex in the very same place as the asteroid hit. That's right, in the Gulf of Mexico, T-Rex thrived with the Alamosaurus, and occasionally, because T-Rex had the intelligence of primate, which was recently proven like 12 days ago or something, T-Rex would possibly pack hunt. Therefore, they pack hunt these beasts. But occasionally, when a T-Rex was desperate and alone, they would challenge it, only to be crushed to death by the massive legs of the massive Alamosaurus. Although not the largest dinosaur, it was still massive. We're going smaller for number 7. Number 7, we have our first Jurassic creature instead of Cretaceous. Its name is the mighty Stegosaurus, and you've more than likely heard of it before via the Lost World Jurassic Park or the more recent Jurassic World trilogy. Even documentaries like Planet Dinosaur had these things. Stegosaurus was world renowned for fighting creatures like Torosaurus, Allosaurus and Saurophagonats, who were almost as big as T-Rex, so it would have almost no problem facing a fight against a T-Rex. Alongside its massive shield and its weapons, it could easily dispatch a T-Rex in one go with just one swipe of its tail, but the fight would definitely be hard for it. Returning to the Cretaceous again, we have the mighty Ankylosaurus. This beast, an absolute living prehistoric tank, will be able to easily dispatch T-Rex. Plus, alongside evidence of T-Rex hunting it and some of its smaller relatives as well, T-Rex would have been no problem for the mighty and experienced Ankylosaurus, who would have already fought T-Rex many times in the past before this legendary matchup. But this is only number 6 place. The next creature on our list will be able to not only crush a T-Rex within seconds, maybe even milliseconds when the fight first begins, but throw it onto a wall like it was nothing. It did the same thing to the future predator. That's a fictional creature of Primeval, and its name is, drumroll please, the mighty Paleoloxodon. This massive beast was around 10 to 11 meters long, although not as long as T-Rex. It was a lot more heavier, around 14 to 11 to 15 tons at its maximum. It was easily able to crush and toss around T-Rex like it was nothing. Newer, more larger and recent estimates put it at around 22 tons in weight. If so, T-Rex would only be around half the size, scientifically, of the Paleoloxodon. And Paleoloxodon will go for its second evolutionary growth spurt. Hopefully you enjoyed this part, and next we'll move on to an even mightier beast. This is the mighty Megalodon, and this is not creatures ranked in their strength or size. This is just random creatures coming to my head. The Megalodon, or Oxodus Megalodon, was a creature that was around 20 feet longer than T-Rex. It weighed at its largest 50 to 100 tons. Take that into consideration. T-Rex weighed around 10.6 whole tons. Megalodon weighed approximately 50 to 100 tons. If the largest estimates of 100 tons in weight are true, the Megalodon will be half the size of blue whale, able to dispatch a blue whale and a T-Rex in one go. And finally, but not least, topple T-Rex with ease. The next 3 creatures could obviously do the exact same, if not possibly worse, than the mighty Megalodon. Number 3 is mighty and ferocious Mosasaurus hoffmanni. Around 10.5 to 19 meters long, the mighty Mosasaurus could kill T-Rex with one blow. Same with Megalodon and many other creatures on this list. It is so great that this alpha predator of the sea actually lived with T-Rex and possibly ate it. T-Rex is most likely crossed across the sea and when doing so would encounter mosasaurs. Number 2, Basilosaurus. The second mammalian option on this list, other than Paleoloxodon, and the last one, Basilosaurus, lived around 30 million years ago to 36 million years ago and was just massive, around 18 meters long as Megalodon, but not as powerful. And number 1, without a doubt, Brachiosaurus, another beast from the Jurassic, the second and last one of its kind, Brachiosaurus. Well, that's just one reason, really. It's massive. It's absolutely atrociously massive. Not as big as Argentinosaurus, but just as big, if not bigger than a llama. Hopefully you enjoyed, and bye. See ya. What's up, guys? Today we have a massive video in our hands. So without a doubt, let's get into it. What was the most powerful animal to ever exist? Even though all 3 of these are prehistoric and extinct, still, these are the only 3 that made it in the top 3 most powerful animals. So who is the toughest out of all of them? At the end of this video, we will rank them from weakest to strongest creature. First of all, we have arguably one of the most strongest animals on the list, and maybe even the strongest animal to ever exist, the Meg, or Octodus megalodon. This is the one with an 11-foot gaping mouth. It has many advantages over the other creatures, like a massive weight advantage. Leviathan is the least heavy. Argentinosaurus weighs approximately 75 tons, and Megalodon weighs 100 to 98 to 97 even, 96 tons. An average individual though, however, weighs at least 50 tons. But still, to make it all big, we're going to have all three of the largest specimens go in a 1v1v1 fight. So the largest megalodons were at least 100 tons in weight, to even 99 tons. Next up, we have another big beast. Megalodon also has a bite advantage, durability advantage, and its disadvantages is weak ears, less durable fins, and it's the second slowest of all three animals, other than Argentinosaurus, who is the slowest. And yet, that's a dinosaur that existed 89 to 86 million years ago. Next up, we have the mighty Argentinosaurus. It has many advantages, however, these are almost outnumbered by the many disadvantages. Argentinosaurus may actually be the largest of the bunch, but for now it's known as second largest of the bunch. It has a height and length advantage, a height of 8 meters, massive, and a length of 35 meters. The average specimens weigh at least 75 to 80 tons. Absolutely massive. It also has a brute force advantage, by far being the most capable in brute strength of all three creatures by far. Because of this, it obtains both power and strength as well. All three of these strength features could make it possibly win this battle to the death. Alongside its massive height and length advantage, it could possibly intimidate the other two underwater adversaries. Let's just say the battlefield is just an abyss where, Argentinosaurus could breathe underwater and move underwater. Yeah, let's just say that it's a massive void where they can do what they want. Apart from fly, if they live on land. Next up, we have disadvantages. By far, out of the three creatures, it is, without a doubt, the slowest creature. It does not have a lot of stamina at all due to it being so slow and every move taking up so much energy because of its massive size. It was also the least durable of the three, ranking on 3rd place on durability out of the three creatures. I reckon even a giant crocodile, same size of it, even though they never existed, would be a lot more durable due to its osteoderms. But Argentinosaurus doesn't have osteoderms, therefore making it the least durable of the bunch. It's also has a vulnerable neck and a vulnerable tail. Therefore, this makes the creature have two massive weak points that could easily be exploited to their finest by both Megalodon and Leviathan, based off the name Leviathan from ancient Bible legends. This creature is second to 1st largest, but we are still unsure about it. Now the next creature on our top 3 list will take the longest to explain by far. This is the mighty Leviathan, a creature that lived alongside Megalodon 15 to 3.6 or even 2.7 possibly million years ago, where they both went extinct. It's possible Leviathan could have hunted Megalodon and actually ate them for a living, but it's only possible. There's a 50% chance it could and a 50% chance it couldn't. Now what could go wrong here? Anyway, Leviathan was overall a powerful killer in its own right. That's why it's on this top 3 list. So far, its advantages include a massive speed advantage. Possible estimates go up to around 15 to possibly even 25 to 26 miles per hour. That's a massive amount of speed against Argentinosaurus and Megalodon. If the largest estimate is 25 to 26 miles per hour, so even more like 27 to 28, maybe 32 miles per hour possible, because it has so much pace as well. More pace than the other two, or are larger than it, even more surprisingly. Therefore, it will be like double both of them combined in the speed. Next up, we have stamina. Surprisingly, due to its massive amount of speed, you thought it'd lose a lot more energy, more than the other two. But surprisingly, it's a creature with by far the most stamina on the entire list. It's also agile and a lot more flexible than Megalodon and Argentinosaurus, the largest species of both of them. Next up, it has its strongest advantage by far, its deafening sound. What I mean by this is that this is an ability that's obtained by modern day whales, specifically the sperm whale. Due to a special organ in its head, it can make complex sounds that are incredibly loud. 150 decibels of sound will be able to crush a human head within seconds. This creature and its relative sperm whale have a sound of 250 to 270 for Leviathan, only possibly, decibels. That is absolutely massive. Imagine just hearing that, you go deaf almost instantly, if not instantly. Both Argentinosaurus and Megalodon would have to expect to go deaf very early in this match. It also, because it's mammalian, it has by far the most IQ, being the smartest creature of the bunch. It also has greater eyesight than Megalodon and Argentinosaurus combined. A new massive advantage. Next up, we have the disadvantages, which it surprisingly has very few of. It's physically the weakest, third strongest in terms of brute strength and full-on power. This is a massive disadvantage on its own, as Megalodon and Argentinosaurus could possibly easily overpower it in brute strength, power, and overall strength as well. Next up, it has 2 vulnerable body parts. The tail, the neck, and the most fattest parts of its body, the underbelly. Same with Megalodon, both have incredibly weak underbellies. Same with Argentinosaurus, because none of these 3 creatures have osteoderms, and all of them aren't very durable in terms of standards in the animal kingdom. Whilst Leviathan, Megalodon and Argentinosaurus are strong, who is the strongest? Time to find out. Right, first of all, it's time to analyse the battle. This battle will not be short at all, lasting at least 5 to possibly even 12 to 10 hours in length. But possibly it could be short at 15 minutes long, shorter than this video in time span, which this video is surprisingly 17 minutes long. 2 minutes longer than the shortest battle between all 3 of these beasts. Now it's time to make a battle scenario. First, it's time to set up the arena. The arena, also known as the void or the area of nothingness, is practically where you could do anything you want. You could fly, move around, go as fast as you possibly want, but it all comes at a cost. It's basically like the ocean, but Argentinosaurus can breathe in it. Otherwise, this would be unfair, both in land and the water for Argentinosaurus, and on land it would be unfair for Megalodon and Leviathan. So why don't we combine both of them to make none of them lose for no natural causes whatsoever? Now it's time to look at the battle. So without a doubt, it's time to wait for a few seconds, possibly a minute, and find out how this battle goes after we analyse it. Alright, that was short, a few seconds. Now I've fully thought out and originated my new battle of a 1v1v1. Time to find out how this battle would go. Argentinosaurus is walking, eating plants, just minding its own business. That's when suddenly it hears a very loud sound very far away, and it sees a fast creature coming closer and closer by the seconds. Argentinosaurus screeches and lifts its whole body up before bringing it down in order to intimidate the unforeseen beast. The creature quickly backs away before anything could possibly happen to it. Then it feels another creature. It slowly turns its head to see a ginormous shark, Megalodon, 65 feet long, swimming right next to it. Argentinosaurus bellows at it and almost topples Megalodon. Megalodon quickly moves out the way before anything bad could possibly even happen. And later on, just as Argentinosaurus wasn't looking, Leviathan would go back at its top speed and make its deafening sounds, just as Megalodon's moving out of the battlefield. Suddenly, Argentinosaurus, just as it slowly turns its head again, feels a nasty bite pain before its neck snapped before it could even see its killer. The creature fell, screaming in agonizing pain. This unforeseen killer, was none other than the Leviathan, biting down on the neck of Argentinosaurus, largest species. The creature falls right down to the ground, and therefore it dies. Not so fast though. It's still bleeding out and suffocating as the creature begins to eat it alive. The smell of blood attracts the Megalodon once again for the second time, and it starts to begin to challenge Leviathan for this newfound meal. The two enter in massive combat. Megalodon has sheer size and bite force on its side, whilst Leviathan has speed, intelligence, and its deafening sounds. All this whilst Argentinosaurus watches, whilst on the brink of death, making horrid sounds of choking on its own blood, before it quickly dies before it could see who wins. Megalodon finds a weak point, the belly, and a more effective, experienced, and greater at combat beast bites down on the area. The whale screams, deafening the Megalodon. Megalodon moves away, but Leviathan tries swimming away. Both swim away. Eventually, Leviathan begins to slowly bleed out. So, in order to make it die with honour because it knows it will die eventually. It goes back to the Megalodon and challenges it. Megalodon wins by biting down on its weakest paw, its massive forehead. The creature screams in agonising pain before dying after a massive chunk is ripped out from its head and chunked down by the massive Megalodon. Although two other creatures went deaf, it was all worth it for the Megalodon's true ultimate victory. Therefore, we have our ultimate winner, Megalodon. But this is only early 2023. This video was made on the 10th of March 2023. So if anything changes tomorrow, in a month, week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, please let me know in any comment section or my community post. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. And I really just spent a lot of effort. So please, if you liked and subscribe, hopefully you enjoyed, and bye. See ya.